In this video, we're going to show you exactly how to develop a system for your pre-cooked food. It's going to help you avoid cash in the trash. So if you want to find out more about that, you're in the right place. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to our village. If you're a returning villager, welcome as well. So let's get into it. Welcome to Garden of the Mind, where we reduce stress, improve our health and fitness, and improve our financial IQ every episode. Food is a major expense on your paycheck, whether you are ordering out, going to restaurants, or cooking yourself. One way to save on the amount of money that you are spending on food is to try to cook things at home and store them for another time, or bring in your lunch to work. All of these little small changes can account for a huge difference in terms of your bottom line. It's also good because you know exactly what it is that you put in the food. It's easier to stick to a diet when you prepare your own foods. Then you don't have to fall victim to whatever else is around you at the time that you're hungry. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit about my food system, but you have to develop your own. So you have to tweak it. You have to trial and error. You have to see exactly what your palate allows from what your palate does not allow. So this is a work in progress. This is a process. This is something that you do over time. My system is 3 days in the refrigerator. After 3 days in the refrigerator, it has to come out and it has to go into the freezer. Now, most people don't want to freeze food because they have memories of going in their freezer and pulling out some unknown substance that's been in the freezer for they don't know how long. So we're going to show you exactly how to avoid that. We're going to give you 4 tips that's going to improve your system and reduce that cash in the trash. Tip number 1, you have to have items in which to store your food so that you don't get that horrible freezer burn that everybody is thinking about when they're saying, oh, I don't want to freeze my food. In order to avoid getting freezer burn, air is your enemy. So you don't want anything that's going to allow air into the food because that's going to give it that horrible freezer taste and reduce the fidelity of your food. Things that I use: freezer bags. Don't go cheap on this. It's a lot more expensive than just your regular sandwich bags, which I also use, but they also insulate the food a little bit better. But before you zip it shut, you squeeze all of the air out and then continue to zip it shut. That's going to help to keep your food the freshest. Now, some of these I've harvested from takeout, but you could also go to the internet and order these in bulk so that you have some place to put your item. Now, what I have is I have a marker and I have masking tape. Now, these are good because you get a chance to mark down exactly what it is that you're putting in the freezer and the date. If you just write it on the bag, by the time you go to get it, it's going to rub right off and you're still going to not know exactly what it is in the refrigerator. Tip number 2, you got to know exactly what freezes well from what does not freeze well. I can tell you meats freeze excellent, whether they're cooked or uncooked. They can stay in the freezer almost indefinitely. As long as you take out all of the air before freezing it, you can enjoy it later on down the line. Now, if you have one of those vacuum seal machines, that's even better because it vacuums out the air and then seals it. So the food can stay in there for so long, it would shock you. Now, most of the times, eggs do not freeze well, but there are some exceptions to every rule. Bread is another thing that I don't think freezes really well, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you freeze bread. But I freeze everything from smoothies. I even freeze my smoothies. This here is a smoothie that I've frozen. This here is a smoothie that I've frozen. Anything with water in it or a high water base in it usually does not freeze too well. Or if you decide to freeze it, you could only keep it in the freezer for maybe a week, 2 weeks max. After that, you're going to reduce the fidelity of your food. Tip number 3, have a system. Develop your own system for how it is that you are going to store your items in the refrigerator, in the freezer, whatever. Some people do not like leftovers. Now, I make my own TV dinner. I put a starch, a vegetable, and a meat inside and store it for another day. So all I have to do is come home and put it in a toaster oven, a regular oven, or even a microwave. You have to develop your own style. This is an example. Now, I deliberately do not put any labels on there because I like to play roulette with myself. I like to pack different foods in the freezer and put them in different places in the freezer, so when I pull it out, it's not exactly the last meal that I cooked. So I'm always surprised by the randomness of what it is that I'm eating. Tip number 4, benefit from sales and buying things in bulk. I buy my meats in bulk, I bring them home immediately, and I cut them down into single or double portions so that I don't have to go digging through the freezer and getting that big piece of meat and having to wait for it to thaw for 4 hours before I'm able to eat anything. So I buy my meats and I put it into small portions so that I can have at any given moment. So I have this here, this piece. Now, I also strategically freeze it so that I can just take it and break it. And I can take one piece of meat, cook it, and come back and get the other one later on. Now, these are meatballs. I've broken these and separated them in such a way that I can take 2 or 3 meatballs, if that's all that I need, and put the rest in without waiting for the entire thing to thaw out. This is a system that works for me. I hope that it can work for you. Give it a try. Try different things and see exactly what works for you, what tastes good to you frozen and what doesn't. Not everything tastes good to everybody. Not everything is for everybody. But give it a try. Find out what's for you. And please put that in the comments. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up. If it was a complete waste of your time, please give it a thumbs down with an explanation on what I can do to improve, because we're always looking to improve here. If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you want to know when I post, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, please click on that notification bell so that it'll let you know exactly when a new video is hot off the press. I'll see you for our Mindful Mondays portion, when we will be talking about what strengths you have in yourself that you can use to start your own business. I'll see you then.